Hello, my tubies. It's me again, Sheila True Love. And as we have been discussing lately in terms of the Hulk organization that I have spent decades and decades and decades and decades with, and I'm just totally distraught. And, I've done my research. I've had people send me YouTube channels, because they say, oh my God, Sheila, I had no idea that were you really associated with that organization? Really? Well, didn't you check this out? Did you not check this out? And I had my girl Noni sent me this, and she's from England. And I just do Jehovah's Witnesses bust up families, because if you notice, hold on a minute. They have books like this. Okay, this is what their books are like. The Secret of Family Happiness. This is from Jehovah's Witnesses. The Secret of Family Happiness. So the last thing you would think that this organization wants to do is bust up families. But no, as long as you're a part of their cult, the group, if you will, whatever, I call it a cult, because anytime you're ready to leave something and you have to be punished, you have to, like Scientology, the Mormons, the Amish, the, Hell to Skelter, Jimmy Jones, those are cults. And you want to leave, you're going to have to, we hold your family as a hostage. That's a cult. Now, these Watchtower witnesses, because I like to say Watchtower witnesses because I don't want to bring any further reproach on Jehovah's name. Yahweh, Jehovah, I don't want to bring any more reproach. And this organization has done nothing but bring reproach on Jehovah. If you listen to my previous videos, a part of this segment, you'll see, just go into Newsweek, just go into Google University, Google, and type in Newsweek and Jehovah's Witnesses, Daily News and Jehovah's Witnesses, or just type on the news and Jehovah's Witnesses, and you'll see the truth. This is not coming from what they call apostates. No, these people are not apostates. These are people who are just on the outside looking in. For real. And the truth, they used to always come down on the Catholic Church about this and the Catholic Church and about that, and the empire of false religion. And look at them. So do they bust up families? Let's listen in. Come on, Anoni.
Hey, and welcome back to another video with me and Anna Mouse. So today I want to address something that Jehovah's Witnesses are quite often accused of and always deny, and that is the subject of them breaking up or disrupting families. This is quite a common thing that Jehovah's Witnesses face when it comes to meeting people on the doors or, talking to people in the field service. A lot of people say, hey, you guys, don't you break up families? And they sort of use that as a reason not to be interested in the truth. And Jehovah's Witnesses always hit back with, oh, we don't do that, and that's just like bad sort of fake news about us, that we actually encourage and promote family values. In fact, we have like tons of literature and books all centered around the family. So it can be a little bit confusing if you don't really know much about Jehovah's Witnesses, because you hear two conflicting sides. One from people who probably are ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, who, the witnesses sort of say, oh, they're just bitter, or they've just had bad experiences in their congregation. That's not reflective of the whole organization. And then you have the side of the witnesses who say, hey, we promote family. Here's a book, The Key to Family Happiness, or whatever it was called. And so let's just talk about like 4 things that I was thinking about over the last couple of weeks, actually, about the breakup of families. I think that this subject is quite, it means a lot really to people who are disfellowshipped right now, who are watching this video, or people who are fading away, or who have disassociated, or who want to. Because I think that you guys can definitely agree that Jehovah's Witnesses break up families. So let's deal with the obvious one first. Disfellowshipping. or disassociating oneself or fading away. It's quite obvious how that breaks up the family. A person who is disfellowshipped, their relationship with people, even within the same household, whom Jehovah's Witnesses say, oh, well, those kind of relationships can continue because you live in the same house. It's your spouse or your children or whoever lives in the house with you. Those relationships are strained. You can't be disfellowshipped and have your witness family be loyal to Jehovah and treat you the same as they always have. It doesn't happen. In my experience, it didn't happen. My parents wouldn't even be seen in public with me under any circumstance. They wouldn't give me a ride anywhere. If they were at the gym or the mall the same time as me, they wouldn't talk to me. And inside the house, they sort of made it clear that because I was disfellowshipped, they wouldn't sort of have much to do with me, even though I lived in the same house. Until I was reinstated, and then they could try to be more friendly toward me. I know that this is quite common in the Facebook groups as well, especially. People talk openly about their experiences now and in the past. An awful lot of people say that they are disfellowshipped, and when they used to live at home with mum and dad or whoever, their relationships were strained. That in fact they had sort of strange routines and rituals because they were disfellowshipped. One woman said that her family sort of had an arrangement with her that if she wanted to go into the kitchen, if they had like Jehovah's Witness friends come over, she would have to knock on the door, everyone would have to leave the kitchen, she could come in and quickly do what she needed and then leave and sort of give them a sign that she was gone and they could go back in. And yeah, that's sort of how it is. It sounds bizarre, especially if you don't really know what being disfellowshipped is like. But that's what it's like for a lot of people. Okay, some people, their mums and dads or brothers and sisters might not really view them that bad and be nice to them. But for an awful lot of people, the relationship within your own house is strained so much, especially if you indicate that you don't want to get reinstated. Then to them, they've actually been advised by the governing body that if the person who is disfellowshipped is a minor, then you are not permitted by law to kick them out. But once they are no longer a minor, they basically indicate, well, it's up to you. You can kick them out if you do not want to poison the rest of your family with their sort of unscriptural attitudes, you know, because then you're considered to be bad association and then you have to go. And then obviously for people who don't live with Jehovah's Witness family or have extended sort of people they know, you are not allowed to talk to them. That's what being disfellowshipped sort of, not what it means, because it really means that you're no longer part of the fellowship. But the consequence of being disfellowshipped is that you are then shunned by anyone who's a Jehovah's Witness worldwide, not just in the congregation that you got disfellowshipped in. Which means that all of your family, your friends, your relatives, if your Jehovah's Witness family have children and they have, you know, more cousins and everything like that, you're not allowed to talk to them. You're not allowed to have a relationship with them. They're not supposed to contact you in any way unless it's a really dire emergency, and it has to be an emergency like somebody's dying, that kind of emergency. So that's the first one anyway, disfellowshipping. The second one is the whole really depressing issue of married couples. I sort of thought of two ways that the society put a strain or disrupt marriages who are between like Jehovah's Witness couples who are married, they're legit, they're allowed to have sex and everything finally. But firstly, the society demands an awful lot of time from you as a Christian, especially from brothers, because they can use them more. And I know it's a big issue, and they've actually had little talks and things addressing this issue, because for elders and ministerial servants who are married, it puts a strain on the marriage. Because you have the brother, he's told, you need to do talks, you need to lead the field service this week, you need to be the chairman at the meeting, you need to lead the cleaning group at the Kingdom Hall, we want you to move where the need is greater, we need you to do a shepherding corps, a judicial committee, we need you, we need you, we need you. They have an awful lot to do. My dad was an elder. I know he had a study full of shit from the Kingdom Hall. They have reports to fill out. They have letters to read and to read out at the meeting as well. They have to study everything, you know. And the elders' wives or ministerial wives and their kids as well, of course, they are losing out on time with their husband and their daddy. You know, it is a bit shit. It's like having a father with a full-time job and another full-time job. You know, he's got a career in the truth, as it were, and he's got his job. And where does he give time to his family? And it's a big issue the society know, and they often commend sisters saying, oh, thank you for supporting your husbands because we need to use them. We need them more than you do. So thank you for letting us use your elder husband or ministerial husband. And we appreciate that you miss them, but it's all for the greater good. Now, a lot of sisters can put up with that. For some sisters, maybe it's a relief. But for a lot of them, particularly maybe newlywed ones or people with new babies and things like that, they want their husbands there. And to have them always being taken away and they're always busy and I can't do that tonight, dear, because I'm writing a talk and I have the ministry tomorrow and I've got an elders meeting tomorrow. You know, it's really hard to put up with that. It does disrupt the family. The worst way that they disrupt marriages is with the whole sex thing. I didn't even know until I was sort of a late teenager that there were sex practices which I and like everybody considers to be normal and good for you, like when it comes to getting satisfaction and building a relationship, which are forbidden within the Jehovah's Witness community. I didn't know this because it's sort of not a topic they discuss or study very often. But when you do research like I had to do, it becomes evident that they ban oral sex. That is not allowed. I mean, what the fuck? And anything else. You can do the research and find out what is forbidden. I didn't know this. In fact, it was a sister who let me know when I think I made a dodgy joke about oral sex. And she was like, we can't do that in the truth. She was really offended, like, we don't do that. That's like dirty. And she was like disgusted by the idea. And I thought she was joking. And I was like, yeah, but it's fine though. And she was like, no, it's not. And she was serious. I thought maybe she was one of these crazy witnesses, you know, the ones who say, hey, we can't watch Disney and we can't drink coffee and stuff like that. You know, you get some of the extreme ones who everything looks bad to them. But she was serious. I did the research and she was right. And it just on a side there, that was the moment I decided once and for all I was never going to marry a witness guy because, oh my God. So that actually put a lot of strain on couples, especially I think it was in Crisis of Conscience, the book by Raymond Franz. If you read it, it's quite early on actually. I know the book is a bit heavy to get through for some people, including me. But he does mention early on that this became like a subject which suddenly started to become like snowballing and trending when it came to letters that were being sent to Bethel and to the governing body. I think it started, if you read his book, he says something like somebody somehow gained access to a married Jehovah's Witness couple's bedroom and saw photographs depicting like Kama Sutra shit and was horrified and actually ratted them out to the elders and said, hey, this couple is doing like kinky stuff. Are we allowed to do that in the truth? And they sort of had a meeting about it and determined that no, these are not appropriate practices for Christians. The next thing you knew, they were getting an absolute torrent of letters from married Christians who were really concerned and so guilty and worried. They were saying, me and my wife do oral sex. Is that okay? Because if not, we've been sinning for years and years and years. In fact, we sinned yesterday, you know. And the governing body were writing back saying, no, these practices are not permitted. And in the end, it became sort of like a rule. And, you know, it was so heartbreaking, seriously, to read some of the quotes from these letters of brothers and sisters feeling serious feelings of guilt, shame, disgust at themselves, fear, and confusion. They were like, where do we draw the line? What's okay and what isn't? Because sex is sex. I mean, it's going to be kinky, you know, no matter how you do it. So what do we need to do? And it's quite depressing, really, that Jehovah's Witnesses, even now, even when you go through all of your life, you don't have sex before marriage, you stay a virgin, you don't look at pornography, you don't, you know, smack the salmon or anything like that. And then you get married to someone who's like a great match, you go to bed on your wedding night, you go down on them, and they say, hey, whoa, I'm telling the elders on you, what are you doing? How depressing is that? Imagine.
Yeah, and I gotta stop it for a moment because there was a time, like I was trying to tell my daughter, but she doesn't listen. You know, when it came to oral sex, when you look at the other literature and the way I was raised, that oral sex was not permitted. That was a form of porneia. Porneia, transferred from Greek to English, means something that's unnatural. It can't produce children. And anal sex, that was a form of sodomy. That's the kind of sex that gay people have. And now all of a sudden, that these governing body, they're old as hell. Now they need people to go down on them. Do sucky long time, because they can't get an erection without it, or maintain an erection now that they're old. So now all of a sudden, yeah, we could do oral sex now because that's what they need. But I know what I was raised with. They said that oral sex was out of the question. That was not acceptable. And if they found anyhow, how the hell are they going to know what you're doing in your bedroom? Because people have a guilty conscience. That's the way they indoctrinate you. You have such a guilty conscience that you report it yourself. You go to the elders and tell them what you've been doing in your bedroom and how guilty you feel and how bad you feel. And yeah, when they find out about that, yeah, you will be reproved. And then they'll ask you how you coming along with that. Yeah, we're still doing, oral sex. And we're still doing, what they call sodomy, which it is sodomizing if you're doing it from the rectum. I'm not down with that crap. But different strokes for different folks. Whatever works for you, that's between you. As long as you married, I say go for it, kid. You married, whatever. But that's not the way the elders see it. Oh, no. You're doing what? You will be shunned. But now that they old and gray and know that they need what? Levitra, what is that other pill? Cialis, and the other pill that they need. Now they're old as hell. Yeah, now you're allowed to give me sucky, love me long time. Yeah, because they know that's the only way they could get it up.
Spending your life scared to death that what you're doing in bed is offending the man upstairs. I mean, maybe you just shouldn't look. It is private after all. So that's just what I think about the way Jehovah's Witnesses disrupt married couples, even within the organisation, who are, 100% believing in everything. They actually put a lot of strain and stress on married couples even. And of course, let's talk about the kids then within Jehovah's Witness families. They put an awful lot of strain and responsibility on children, especially if you've been raised in the Jehovah's Witnesses, you'll know what I'm talking about. I was. There is so much on the shoulders of young kids. From an early age, they're encouraged to do talks on the platform, to do the Bible reading if you're a little boy, there's sexism again, and to do these little talks. When you're one of the girls, you go in with a sister, and it's really scary. When I was a kid, I was terrified. I used to hate doing talks. And I remember the moment I was finished, I would go straight out the back of the hall, upstairs, and cry in the bathroom. It was like a reaction of fear and anxiety, and I was so scared. I was sweating and everything. But little kids are expected to do this. They're expected to go on the field service, knock on the houses of kids who know them because they're from school. They get teased, and it's like, hey, you were at my house on Saturday. What was that about? And it's a lot of stress.
So like I said, 75% of the things that Jehovah's Witnesses have to teach is garbage. It's not useful. It's really not useful. And how about this? 75% of what they teach is unscriptural. Okay? And anything that's unscriptural is not useful to me. But they do have 25% of things that is useful. And I love the way that they had the young ones get up there and perform a talk. Because it helped them to become public speakers. It helped them to get past the anxiety. It helped them to learn how to be public speakers so that they can, become motivational speakers. Everybody in this world needs help to get out of bed, because you have a lot of depressed people in this world. And if you have the courage and the guts to be a motivational speaker like me, I am an advice coach. I have clients. People who, by the way, it's $7 or more if you want to, talk to me for advice on something. Hold on. That's probably somebody asking me for advice right now. Yeah, I can't do that one right now. But like I said, I have people actually pay me $7 or more as a gift or a donation, because that part of the Jehovah's Witness teaching, that's a good thing. How they make ministers out of you. You can become a minister of your own church, become your own pastor, become your own deacon, have your own YouTube channel like Carlos de Jesus, like Alan Parr, like Charles Stanley, and above all else, like Joyce Myers. So they help you to do public speaking. That's a plus. I can't, uh, give it two thumbs down. I give that two. Like I said, 75% of what they teach is unscriptural. It's totally unscriptural. It's like the same teachings of the Pharisees, you know. But when you go to majority of these religions, they're 75% unscriptural. So I figure if you're going to hang out with some donations, listen to different beliefs, you got 25% from this one, hang out with four of them, and then you got 100%. 25, 25, 25, 25, that equals 100. So you're going to get some teachings from anything that can help to build you up spiritually. I say go for it. I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. And because I am a spiritual person, that's what woke me up from this Watchtower witness or this cult, because I'm spiritual. You have a lot of people who are still stuck in false religion or false nonsense because they're religious, opposed to Jesus Christ was very spiritual. He wasn't religious. He was spiritual. He spoke from his heart. He was spirit, the spirit of God. Everything that he talked about, it was backed up by his heavenly father, Jehovah God. He was spiritual, not religious. He didn't have all of this rule of this, and you got a rule on that, and rules, 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 rules. That's religious. Don't have time for that.
Yes, on kids. Okay, some kids handle it, and they don't care, and they're actually proud of being a witness. Great. It's probably easy for them to be that way. But you have to admit there's an awful lot of stress on the kids. It causes a lot of problems within families when you have sort of kids sort of unwittingly competing against each other in the truth. For example, a lot of families have like the good kid and the bad kid. The good kid goes to all the meetings, he or she studies up, they give great comments, they're really active within the organization, they love JW.org and they want to get baptized. And then you have like the bad kid, which in Jehovah's Witness world means the kid that doesn't really want to get baptized. The kid that listens to rock music and mom and dad are like, hey, you can't listen to that, you need to listen to something else. The kid that watches Harry Potter on the sly. The kid that doesn't want to be friends with the squares in the Kingdom Hall. The kid that doesn't really want to answer because he or she is scared and stuff like that. Then you have like a problem where one child is sort of like idolized within the family and commended, and then there's like the crap kid. Hey, you need to do better, be like your brother or sister. And it causes so much strain and stress when a child feels like their parents value the other one. Like the story of Cain and Abel. If you read that, Cain was like the one who sort of gave sacrifices in the story, whether you believe it or not. But the principle was he gave to Jehovah, he was sacrificing his vegetables or whatever it was, doing a barbecue for Jehovah whenever it was. And then you had Abel, who was like the good brother because he was sacrificing too, but it was the best of the flock. Whereas Cain was just, sacrificing like the standard veggies and carrots and things or whatever he was putting on the grill. And so Abel was blessed, but Cain was not. And it led to him being jealous of his brother and ended up murdering him. And yeah, it's a fictional story, and it's like, a bit of an extreme one. And yes, Cain was bad because he, iced his brother. But don't people see the principle here? That when you sort of commend one child and neglect the other because one is trying their very, very best because they're all enthusiastic and the other one is trying but they're just not into it, that it causes problems within the family. And then you have, of course, things like children grow up and they want to go to university and they say, Mom and Dad, I want to go into higher education. higher education is like saying the F word in the Jehovah's Witness organization. It's met with the same response: shock and horror. Why do you want to go to university? Didn't you listen to the meeting? They don't want us to do that kind of thing. You should be focusing on pioneering instead. Why do you want to waste your life in this system? And then it causes strain and stress on the kids. They think, I don't really have a choice. Either I disappoint my parents by doing something that is actually innocent in itself. There's nothing wrong with going on to school for a little longer. Or I just abandon that path of life and just continue being a substandard, Jehovah's Witness. Like, oh, I'm just pioneering, I'm going on the field service. My life is just not moving forward. And then comes feelings of resentment. And like for me, I actually got offered a scholarship to Cambridge when I was young. I was in the top 1% of the whole country. I was smart, before TV rotted my brain. And my parents obviously said that I couldn't take the offer. I couldn't go to Cambridge, and it went to somebody else, and I was really upset. And now I've left the Jehovah's Witnesses, I really do, sadly, sort of resent them for that. I think you should have just let me go, or make my own decision and not insist that, no, you want to go, but we don't want you to, and that's your future, boom, gone, like that. So it causes problems. I was going to mention as well, actually, the Prodigal Son video, if you've seen it. It's really depressing. I showed it to my boyfriend, who's not a Jehovah's Witness, and he was absolutely disgusted with it, particularly the reaction of him after he had sex. I mean, he was crying in the rain. This is not the Notebook sort of reverse. This is just weird. But the prodigal son story is kind of like the Cain and Abel one. You have like the son that the father kind of favors, and then the elder son who's doing his best and doesn't feel like he's being validated for that. It puts stress between them, The brother just wants to move to the city. There's nothing wrong with that. The brother wants to get a job at an office. There's nothing wrong with that either. But then he's sort of picked on, bullied, harassed by his dad in particular, who waits for him in the dark and then puts the light on like some kind of James Bond villain and sort of pressures him not to go. And then because he goes, now it's disobedience because your dad told you no. It's not just, oh, you moving out, now you're disobedient. It puts so much strain on the family, and kids feel like they're being criminalized for doing normal things. It's not good. Anyways, the final thing that I want to talk about, for once I've actually written them down on notes because otherwise I'm going to forget, is that something that really had a profound effect on me. It really made a difference to my life, breaking this rule, and that is the rule of not associating with non-Jehovah's Witness family members. That is like extended family, aunties and uncles, grandparents, maybe your mum or dad if your parents are separated, or stepbrothers, stepsisters, cousins and beyond. Family members who are not Jehovah's Witnesses. The rule is they're the same as everybody else. Bad association. They're not Jehovah's Witnesses. We're only supposed to associate with people who love Jehovah and who go to meetings and practice. So when you are in a family where you have maybe a large amount of extended family members, and you're not allowed to see them or know them or visit them, and maybe you see them once in a while at a funeral or something, and it's like they're like strangers to you, it can make you feel really isolated, particularly if you get disfellowshipped, because you grow up your whole life and you don't get to know people who are like belonging to you, people who are related to you. You sort of look like them, you have the same kind of capabilities and skills and interests, and you miss out on all of that. So many valuable experiences and relationships and bonds. You don't get it. I think that has a serious effect on families, because you do get ones who say, oh, my niece is a Jehovah's Witness. And people say, oh, okay, so when do you see her? And the answer is never. Her mom and dad don't let her come because she's a witness and we're not. So it really does. There is like a huge wall in between families. You're either on this side with the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Right at this part of the segment, she's talking absolute truth when it comes to family members. Let's say your family was really close before one of the family members became a part of this Jehovah's Witness Watchtower Witness organization. Let's say you used to have family night. You know what family night is? We all do pizza or we do Chinese and we have movie night. Okay, this is when the family get together and we just do movie night. Nobody has to cook. Everybody's just getting together. The first hour, everybody comes in. We talk about their day and, you know, what's been troubling you or what are you going through, and everybody just talks about it as a family, because that's what I used to have. You know, I always had Saturdays was family night. I believe in family night anyway. But let's just say that you have your family night, or you have a night where it's game night. It's game night. That's when the family comes over, and they can bring their friends too. And we do games. We do bingo. We have in one set of the room, there's bingo. The other set of the room, we have spades. The other set of the room, we have dominoes. And everybody comes over as a family. And we just hang out. We might do that once a month. You know what I'm saying? Because it's still keeping the family. You heard what I said? Blood. Flesh and blood. I'm not talking about no extended family or no surrogate family. No, I'm talking about flesh and blood here. Because that's what I believed in. And let's talk about, there's a lot of people out there who have that, they had that. But the moment you have one of these family members, let's say they have all the grandkids, they have all the outside other people, they have all of that stops. Because if you can't convert the other family members, like let's say you used to come over for a family night, dinner night, movie night, or game night, we have game night. That's what families are supposed to do. They just are. Okay, now let's say you had that in place. Now, I become a Jehovah's Witness. So guess what's going to happen? And I used to come with my kids. Let's just say I had 6 kids, hypothetically speaking. I used to come with my 6 kids. That's what made it so huge and big. But now I'm a Jehovah's Witness. I don't come over anymore. The kids don't come over anymore. So much for family night and movie night. Why don't they come over anymore? Because this person in your family became a Jehovah's Witness, and now they see you as you're worldly. Because Jehovah's Witnesses are not supposed to hang out with worldly people. It doesn't matter whether you are their family or not, you're considered worldly. Okay? So if they can't convert the worldly, and I'm using quotes here, the worldly people to come into their religious belief, if they can't convert you, like let's say that when the Jehovah's Witness come over to the family, and the family makes it very clear to the Jehovah's Witness, do me a favor, we have boundaries here. We have boundaries. And one of our boundaries is, don't talk that Jehovah's Witness stuff to us. We don't want to talk about the Bible with you. We don't want to talk about nothing. No, don't do that. Please don't. Let's just, focus on the family and what's happening with the family. Like, what are you doing? What are you aspiring to? How about this? How was your week? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about politics. Or not even, because Jehovah's Witness, they got their stance on that. Let's just talk about family things. We don't want you bringing that Jehovah's Witness teaching in this home. That's our boundary. You know what's going to happen? You just lost that family member. Because if that family member can't come into your home with hopes of converting you, they are told to limit their association with you. Now keep in mind, before they became a Jehovah's Witness, your family was tight. Your family was close. You had movie night, you had dinner night, you had families, we go on concerts together. That's all done. That's what Jehovah's Witnesses do. They'll come inside your home and tear your family up from the ground up. Let's say you used to have Mother's Day. Every Mother's Day, the family got together and we took Mom out. Or Father's Day. We love our dad because God knows finding a father who could stay with the team, that takes some doing. We have a dad who he raised us. He was a hard worker. He didn't, he would stay with Mom and all the above. Not his Father's Day. We want to, let's say they have 5 or 6 kids. All the 6 kids come on that one day, because that's the one day that everybody already, they went to their job and they made sure that they have that day off. That's a vacation day they took. It's Father's Day. or you might get the holiday off. I want to celebrate my Mother's Day. The Jehovah's Witnesses? Oh no, we can't have that. Why? Because you'll be spending money on your father and your mother. That's money that you could be putting in the contribution box to take care of the governing body, the 7 white men and 1 token black in the tower. That's why they don't want you to celebrate Christmas either, or Thanksgiving, because all of that takes money. To celebrate those things, it takes money. And when you're spending money on that, that's money that you're not giving to the 7 white men and the 1 token black in the tower. They could say what they want to say. They say it's based on because the origins was pagan. But you know what? So is excommunication and disfellowshipping. That's pagan. If you don't believe me, look at their literature. Their past literature that they're trying to destroy. The foundation of excommunication and disfellowshipping was formulated from paganism. You have the piñata. The piñata, when people go and bust up the piñata, that's paganism. People who have chimes. I've been to so many Jehovah's Witnesses homes, and they have those chimes. You know the chimes, the wind chimes that you put outside your house, and when the wind blows, it goes ding, ding, ding. That's based on paganism. That was like the spirits. You could tell when the spirits are coming. That's based on paganism. So they need to kill that noise when it comes to why you don't celebrate your birthday. They say you don't celebrate your birthday because that's like a form of human worship. Everybody is focusing their attention on you. And then they use that one thing in the Bible where on a birthday, somebody got killed on a birthday. Somebody got killed driving a car, but they don't stop them from driving a car. So many people who have got killed from owning a house, and they don't stop you from. Come on, that's ridiculous. You'll sit up here and say that you're not allowed to have chimes on your porch or in your house because that's like the spirits are coming to your house. Anytime the chimes chime, that's like a spirit. What? But then they'll talk about the piñata, and I have it in their own literature. Let me just look that up. Hold on a brief moment. There are so many things that this organization say that the reason why they don't celebrate Christmas, Thanksgiving. I'm not to Halloween because Halloween to me is evil. That's just wickedness. And no, but Thanksgiving, Christmas, I don't do Christmas because it's too whatever. But people, come on, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Easter. It's making some boiled eggs together with your family. We color the goddamn eggs. We hide them around the house with a gift. And all the children, it's basically for children. Easter is normally a day that people go to church. You know what I'm saying? The things I'm going to talk to you about, these are things that are also rooted and originated with paganism. People, what they have to, Jehovah's Witnesses have got to understand is that people are not following pagan traditions, and they're not doing the demonic things that pagans did. Each household creates their own family tradition. God knows what's in every one of our hearts. And I assure you, my tubies, that he's not going to destroy you, or your salvation does not depend on whether you celebrate your birthday or a holiday. Now, what I need you to do is check this out. Is look up in your Bible the list of deadly sins. That's what you need to be concerned with, not whether I celebrate a holiday or not. Look up deadly sins that God said will cause you not to inherit the kingdom. And also you have to understand that not all sins are deadly sins. Not all sins are deadly sins. That's what we need to concern ourselves with. You know what I mean? And you have to keep in mind, let's think about all the Jehovah's Witnesses, how hypocritical they are. They talk about we don't celebrate holidays because they have pagan origin. Well, so does the wedding ring. Look at the Jehovah's Witnesses and their wedding rings. Also, we studied the Revelation book like 3 times, 4 times. Look at the Revelation book on page 236, where Jehovah's Witnesses, they even condemned wedding rings. They said that it was pagan. And of course, now they got a whole new light. But check out the Revelation book on page 236. What about the white wedding dresses? That's based on paganism. Black mirror, the black mirror hats that people wear to funerals with the tassels on it, that's based on the calendar. Every day of the week, that's based on paganism. They say, but we need to use the calendar. No, you're supposed to be without being corrupted from the world. You don't need the everyday worldly calendar, Satan's calendar, because the calendar, that's straight up pagan. Monday was for the celebration of this God. Tuesday was for the celebration of that God. And don't give me this garbage, because if you have Jehovah's Holy Spirit, you'll come up with your own calendar. Okay, I'll deal with you later. You'll come up with your own calendar. That's totally pagan origin. Anything that's Roman have to do with what the Romans came up with, which is almost everything, has the pagan origin, okay? What about the wedding kiss? Look up the wedding kiss. What about the bridesmaid? What about eye makeup? It was used to ward off evil spirits. How many Jehovah's Witnesses do you know that use eye makeup? That's based on paganism. Wind chimes, the piñata, flowers at funerals, all of this have pagan origin. So kill the noise with why it's just ridiculous. No. Now, when you look at the Awake magazine, the 2003, I'm just thinking here, the 2003 Awake article, it shows how piñatas and the history of piñatas and how they were used in religious practices. They were used like that, but they also said in that same article that it does not matter what it was used for 100 years ago. What something may have meant 100 years ago is not what it means today. Now, if that can apply to piñatas, then that should apply to birthdays, holidays, whatever. Jehovah's Witnesses are full of shit. Oh, I'm ready to curse. The important thing is how it's viewed today. How is it viewed today? So using a piñata in a celebration or having chimes, it's okay if it's used for fun. Why do people use Christmas? Christmas isn't religious at all, not really. It's for fun. Thanksgiving is a time when family, the turkey, is fun. Birthday presents, when you are doing the cake, that's fun. They said as long as it's used for fun and not for religious reasons, it's okay. Okay then, whatever. I'm so done with these Watchtower witnesses. Anyway, let's go back to my girl.
Or you're on that side with everyone who's going to be destroyed at Armageddon. The only chance you ever get of seeing your family is if they convert, and come into the organization. I had 2 aunts who were disfellowshipped before I was born or around that time. They've been disfellowshipped practically my whole life. I never saw them except once when my granddad had a very serious operation. And then I saw them again when my granddad died a couple of years ago. And talking to them was so weird. It was like talking to Cinderella and Snow White. You hear stories about them, but in a way you don't really believe they're real until you meet them. And I expected them to be horrible. Because, of course, you're told, oh, people in the world are horrible. They have, no morals or standards. They'd be swearing and smoking and everything. I met them, and they were lovely. Really lovely. They had lovely husbands, lovely kids. They lived in a lovely place down in the south of England. And I couldn't believe that all these years I was sort of scared of them. I sort of hated them because I thought they were horrible. But they were nice. And it was so weird because they had, obviously, husbands I'd never met. They had kids I'd never met. They had grandkids I'd never met. And all these people were closely related to me, and I had never met them. And, it's so strange. I have family in Dublin and everything that I had never met because we were always kept separate from them. My granddad, on occasion, he was an elder, he would go back occasionally to see his sisters, but he would never bring us with him. It was like a real separation, that was the deal. You don't see them because they're not Jehovah's Witnesses. When I got disfellowshipped, I actually went and found them. I had no idea who they were, who to look for, or where to find them. It was actually a total fluke that I even knew the name of one person. I found her and she sort of introduced me to everyone else, and now I have about 6 million cousins that are all mine. And it's a great feeling. But it is so strange because all of my family who are in the Jehovah's Witnesses, they still refuse to get to know them. Even when I say, they're so nice, you ought to talk to them. The answer is no. And my parents were really angry that I found these people because they were saying, all they'll want to do is rope you into Christmas and Catholic nonsense and whatever. And that has never happened. They're very respectful, actually. When I was first disfellowshipped, I was like, I don't want to do Christmas and stuff. And they were totally cool with that, no pressure. And it sort of blew all of the stereotypes that I was taught. I thought you guys would be horrible and sort of harassing me. But actually, I'm getting that from the Jehovah's Witness side of the family. So, who's actually the problem here? So anyways, just to sum this up, I hope that people watching this can relate. I'm pretty sure that most people can relate to some stuff that I've said. So just super quick, the ways that Jehovah's Witnesses do split up families is the first with the effects of disfellowshipping, the whole shunning thing, and that also applies to people who have disassociated or faded, or people that the congregation consider to be bad association for whatever reason. That's obviously the obvious one. They split up families in that way. The second one is the strain and stress and the restrictions that are put upon married couples, and obviously the effects that the time constraints have on the kids as well. The third one is the effect the organisation has on children. They feel like they're inferior to other siblings who sort of do better spiritually than they are. There's the stress when it comes to life choices, when it comes to university, dating, entertainment, what they're wearing, the way they wear their hair, everything. There's strain. The parents are drilled and educated to spot almost like danger signs with kids. Is your kid rebellious?